Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Royce, and welcome back to A Drink with Crazy. Tonight, the beer doesn't matter, but what does is there is a link down in the description below for Guzman Design Co. Now, this is not a paid sponsorship, nor is this a sponsorship at all. This is a subscriber to the channel who reached out to me a little while ago and offered to do some brand new brand work for the channel. He did such a great job. I'm putting the picture up now. So, A Drink with Crazy is going to get a new look, but I want to make sure you guys know it's going to get a new look so that way when the icons change and we start using different images and when the backgrounds change, you guys know you're still here with A Drink with Crazy and you're still in the right place with a brand new fresh look from Guzman Design Co. If you guys need work done, need graphic design work done, go down in the description below, click that link, reach out to him. He's a subscriber of the channel. He's a supporter of what we're doing. And I think that we should all support each other in the adventures that we're going on. So go down below if you need graphic design work and support Guzman Design Co. And without any further ado, let's get into what brought today's idea on. Because I don't know. I'm going to do some dumb stuff here. It's going to be great. All right, we're over on the hellscape that is Twitter. Oh my goodness, Lord. I have all these JPEGs down there. Wow. Doing D&D stuff, building character sheets, you know, the normal. Over here, we've got Eric July. All right, he's a, responding to a reply guy. He says Eric has no interest in selling to a general audience, only to his fanatical fan base. It's why he gets overly defensive with very lukewarm questions like, have people gotten their copies, or denies potential customers. Eric July, this reads to me like he's not trying to have mainstream appeal. He's trying to sell to more likely buyers. Caught me red-handed. Now, this little back and forth here on the Twit Twats had me thinking, what would Eric July have to do to permeate the culture in such a way that his comic book actually becomes the mainstream, not replaces them, but becomes the new mainstream? And I was thinking about it. What are the steps that would have to be taken? How would this have to grow and work? Well, first of all, Eric, I think, would have to create stories, one, that definitely sell to the fantastical idea of superheroes. We still have yet to see if that's going to be fulfilled. I am very hopeful that item number 1 will be good. I'm hoping it will be great, but at the very least, I can just expect it to be good. Again, I can't say one way or the other whether it's good or not. I don't have it yet. I like the artwork. I do like the artwork, and I can say that because obviously they've released some of it online. Posters. He's got his people putting out mobile backgrounds, which are really fantastic. If you go over to his Twitter and his Facebook, the Ripperverse Twitter, the Ripperverse Facebook, they're doing mobile backgrounds for your phone, which I think that's a great idea, just to get that out there so when people look on your phone, they go, oh, hey, what's that? Great conversation starter. The one thing that I really think that Eric is going to do eventually, and probably not going to do right now, but we will find out, is one, he has to have a great story that permeates at least the hardcore comic fans, right? That permeates that sect of it. After he's done and he's kind of permeated that and kind of flooded through that area by word of mouth, hopefully by writing a really good story, the next step beyond that, I think, is keeping the stories somewhat friendly for younger teenage kids to enjoy. Right, and it just no hardcore graphic stuff, which I don't think Eric's all about that anyway. But I think that would be the next step, right? The next step is to permeate the younger audiences who don't know about his book, and by word of mouth, get shop owners on his side and really, really start to gain a lot of trust here. It's similar to what DC and Marvel did many years ago. They just came up with characters and they wrote stories to identify with the younger audiences. I mean, that's how Spider-Man was created, was a character who identified with younger audiences. So if he can reach that point, I think once that gets somewhere, and it's going to have to be there for a while, and this is not an overnight thing, right? This is something that's going to take a while. However, unlike before, where they were where comic books were becoming more of a new thing, a more socially acceptable thing, then you get the generations growing up with it and showing their kids. Now, because Eric has the internet available to him in this day and age, which they didn't back when, Action Comics #1 came out, or when Marvel started. I don't actually know what the first Marvel comic. If you guys know what the first Marvel comic was, comment down below. That'd be really cool, because I don't actually know. I feel like it would be a Captain America comic, but I'm not sure, because I feel, well... No, I don't know. Let me know down below what the first Marvel comic book was. That would be really, I would actually be very interested in learning that. But once he gets to that point, and I think the internet can help speed this process up, so it's not going to become this, 30-year, 50-year, 40-year, however long it takes. Yes, I know I didn't say the numbers in order. That's just how my brain works, okay? But I think once he does that, once that culture is permeated and he reaches the young high school audience, if the high school audience is still entertained by comic books, you're going to get those nerdy guys. You need to have a culture around it where it's kind of cliche, right? It's cliche to have the Isom comic books and buy the Rippaverse stuff. Now, the cliche thing may already be working for him because of how much control DC and Marvel have on the industry and all of the fourth great religion stuff, or wokeism, that they're injecting into the comic books. So once I think that cliche thing, right, the forbidden fruit, that's the key here, is having Isom become like that forbidden fruit, like, I can't read this. It's like not to dip into politics too much here, but it's all over everywhere, but it's like the secret Trump voter, right? So it would be the people who are like, oh, well, I support this guy, but I can't say anything. It'd be the people that are buying his books and it's like, oh, I really love this. Ooh, but I can't say anything. And then somebody else notices I'm reading it with, oh, you have that? And then it starts to build from there. And I think this is really important. He's already got his base support of guys like me who are just like, fuck you, I'll read it because I support the guy. I like what he said in the past about culture and politics and government and all that. But mostly I would be interested in just getting back to really good Western storytelling. I've been more of a TV and movie guy my whole life, less of a book and comic book guy. That's just, them's the facts. I have always researched comic book characters and all that stuff, and that makes me a student of comic books and less of a comic book fan, right? I was not in the shop on Wednesdays picking up the new books. I was, however, talking to the people who were, educating myself on the characters because I really loved them, and I grew up with a lot of the animated series, and I actually bought a bunch of the animated movies that were closely related to the storylines. How do I know they were closely related to the storylines? Because I talked with my friends who read them, and I said, hey, how was this movie? Did you watch it? They go, yeah, you know what? That one's all right. It's a little off, but, for the most part, it gets the point across. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I would call my friends and say, hey, have you seen this animated movie? They go, yeah, I have. It's not like the comic book at all. You shouldn't. Okay. And I wouldn't buy it, right? That's the type of comic book character fan that I have been. And so now, because of this whole, hey, we're going to blow the doors off of Marvel and DC, and we're going to be bigger than them, and we need to get back into good storytelling. Well, that caught my interest because good storytelling really hasn't been out there. So he's already got that base. Now we need to work on getting that base into a younger generation. How do we communicate that? How do we go about that? How do we show these stories to the younger generation? And how do we make it kind of that forbidden fruit, right? Because the forbidden fruit always tastes much, much sweeter than the normal fruit. From there, I think that the next logical step after the youth is really interested in is for companies and corporations out there to see how interested the youth is in all of this and see the sales tick up. It's all dependent on the young people in our generation being able to identify with the stories being told, not identify with the race of the characters, not identify with some political BS, but really think, wow, if I'm going through this and that person's going through that, man, that was the relatability with the Spider-Man comics. That's what a lot of people liked about it. From there, you get into where we could start seeing potential cartoons, potential movies, and things like that. And the question is how quickly does this all happen somewhat naturally? Okay. And the reason I say somewhat naturally is because we live in such a divisive world right now. And so for this to happen too quickly, you're going to get those people that immediately reject it. And we don't want to do that. We want to avoid people immediately rejecting this and immediately pushing it aside, saying no. And so again, how do we turn this book into that forbidden fruit that the younger demographic who is buying this stuff, who is consuming this stuff, who wants to do it, right? How D&D used to be, right? Like, you know, the jocks at school could never let people know that the people he picks on, he's secretly like, hey, nerd, and like shoves him, be like, hey, dude, we doing D&D at your house tonight? Like, you can't know that. And there were people like that back in the day, and they would go over and they would make sure nobody saw them, and then we'd sneak downstairs and they would play D&D. How do we get that culture, right? How do we turn that into that? And then I think that would evolve into this big, grand idea later down the road. And I think something that could really give longevity to the Rippaverse in a way that like DC and Marvel have had. Now, these are just my thoughts of what I think that we as a fan base need to do to contribute to Eric July's success. What do you guys think? I want to hear down below what you think. Comment on the video. Let me know your thoughts. Like this video if you guys think that I'm bringing something to the table in terms of the conversation. And above all, go check out Guzman Design Co. down in the description below. He is a subscriber of the channel and deserves your support. Okay? He deserves your support more than I do. If you guys feel the need to hit the subscribe button, that's fine. But you hit that button after you go over and see what Guzman Design Co. can do for you. So thank you guys so much for checking out A Drink with Crazy. I am so excited to get the new branding up on the channel. It looks so freaking good, and I am so happy to be able to do this. Thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for watching A Drink with Crazy. If you liked the conversation, make sure to click here to see more.